when winter is here. It's the time of the season, the chilly Christmas time of year. But outside my window, it's a clear day, and there's no chance for snow falling in the desert. No way. Makes me think about when I was a little girl, and I dreamt of living in my Christmas world. Shake my little snow globe and off I go to my little Christmas town in Colorado, where I decorate the Christmas tree. Tiny little reindeer flying around me, and itty bitty red birds, and I would sing to the tiny little Christmas trees. And every year would be the same. I'd write a letter to Santa, and I'd say, Santa, could you please bring me Colorado Christmas Eve. Little cobblestone streets all covered with snow. Tiny little Christmas shops and trees were all aglow with red ribbons, lights, and Christmas balls. And everyone riding a one-horse sleigh, eating Christmas cookies all along, making merrily Christmas caroling all through the day. And we meet up at the town square, where there's a giant Christmas tree there, with the lights so bright, the shepherds left their flocks by night to see this baby wrapped in light. A host of angels led them all to you. It was just as the angel said, you'll find him in a manger bed, Emmanuel and Savior. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. A star shone bright up in the east, to Bethlehem the wise men free came many miles and journey long for you. And as a place where waits for you, their frankincense and golden myrrh they gave and cried out, oh hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I know you came to rescue me, this baby boy who would grow to be a man who one day died for me and you. My sins were dry, the nails in you, that rugged cross was my cross too. Still every breath was true with hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
I'm Reverend William Bean, and I'm known as the Spiritual Warrior. I've performed hundreds of exorcisms for people from all over the world. I've seen evil up close and personal, as there's a real battle raging over the souls of men. Join me as I present my stories from my case files, Tales from an Exorcist.
Run Department, stations 1, 2, and 341 for an ambulance. Smoke in the building. Kmart 295 Hartford Turnpike. Engine tank 141, Tower 141, ET 241. ET 241 on scene. Single-story commercial. Be establishing burning command. ET 241 on the scene. Tower 141, Vernon Command, set up in front. There's a smoke condition coming through the vent. 41 from 141. At this point, we have smoke coming from a ventilation fan, possibly electrical in nature. All occupants are reported out of the building. We have Recon 1 and setting up aerial operations to get up the roof.
Organized as a municipal fire service in 1854, the Town of Vernon Fire Department is a volunteer service agency that provides fire, rescue, hazardous materials, and basic life support emergency medical services to this community. The department provides those services utilizing 6 stations and approximately 196 members. This is the Town of Vernon Fire Department. The fire departments in this town basically started as fire brigades for all the mills. Then, around 1854, the municipal government of the city of Rockville decided to consolidate all of the fire brigades in the factories and make a municipal fire department, and that started the Rockville Fire Department. Towards the Second World War, on the other side of town, companies 1, 2, and 3 were established as the Old Vernon Fire Department.
1 was out of where it is Vernon Center, 2 was out of Dobsonville, and 3 was out of Talkinville.
And the Vernon section of town was more rural in nature. You had the city of Rockville, then you had rural Vernon. So the fire tactics were somewhat different, the vehicles were somewhat different.
Well, it was always a fight between Vernon and Rockville. There was no fight. I got along with all of them. I enjoyed working with Dave Gork. I enjoyed working with all of them.
So essentially, the town of Vernon had 2 separate fire departments that supplied fire protection to both sides of town.
I believed in making changes all the time to better the department, not to try to be number 1, but to modernize everything so it was easier for them to put out the fire.
In 1979, the fire department consolidated into one organization. But basically it breaks down to each side of town can provide 3 engines, a ladder, and a rescue on a first alarm assignment. We're pretty blessed in this fire department, even though sometimes the guys complain a little. But the bottom line is we have a very eclectic list of fire apparatus. Quite a bit of fire apparatus, and all state-of-the-art equipment.
My name is Steve Epler. I'm an assistant fire chief with the Town of Vernon Fire Department. My area of responsibility is operations and training. Without proper training, a job that could be dangerous and unsafe will be that much more difficult to perform. Members of the department train weekly, either as a company, as a department, or as individuals. We offer a multitude of training opportunities, both inside the department with a strong core of department instructors, many of which are certified or have years of experience both in the Vernon Fire Department or at outside departments.
You gotta loosely pack it so when you throw it, it all comes out.
I don't know.
That's good. I'll walk away. 1, 2, 3.
We don't have an easy job.
We had to rely on only ET1 to come out with the boat. We'd be screwed.
I wouldn't want to put both my hands up closer and it's more of a chop, chop, chop like this. Just a little motion like that versus, okay?
Oh, well, it's just atmospheric pressure.
So it's at 0.
Yeah. So it's going to read 0, but,
Right, 6-inch suction.
but there's only 14.7.
New members starting the fire department will go through our own in-house recruitment training program. The first 6 weeks will include introduction to the fire service, how we operate, incident command, and other topics such as that. And the following 12 weeks will include basic firefighting skills to get the member ready to do the job they need to get done.
I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna twist this. So the top's at the bottom of my foot. So one thing you're gonna notice with Shane here, all of his is on the ground, and that it happens, not a big deal. So try to pull a little bit more out from off the truck. Right. So it's gonna want to shoot out this way.
We don't send members into the field without initial training to make sure they can complete the job safely and effectively. The members of the department also do a lot of community outreach, from our Toys for Tykes drive to emergency food pantry drives to standby for our town fireworks, public education in the elementary schools and daycares, and various interactions with Parks and Rec.
Hey, is that the one?
The brotherhood, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'd do anything for any of the guys in my company, or even any firefight. Just recently, try not to cry. My wife lost her father, and the guys were right there. Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but at a fire, I would die for one of the guys, and they would for me.
Vernon Rockville Connecticut, cardiac arrest.
Yeah, Rockville Connecticut.
Yeah, they want 641. 641 response.
We'll probably call when he's going to be arriving. So he'll probably arrive from Orchard Street, turn up onto the village. I think that this is a huge testament to the brotherhood and sisterhood that our department has. And for everybody to come here and do this right here, that's a home run. So thank you very much. Everybody should feel great. Line up on, alongside your apparatus. Greet him as he comes by. You make a little bit of noise if you want. Probably not a lot. We don't want to set off with Beefy that's implanted in him. But most of all, our company and Jackson family definitely appreciate everybody being here today. So let's head on out there because he's going to be arriving soon.
Brother, let me be your shelter. Never leave alone. I can be the one you call.
Department, Vernon, email 10 to 84 westbound, just before exit 64 auto accident. Possible minor injuries. Roger, minor injuries. You got ambulance 641 responding.
TN Rescue 141 responding.
141 responding. Ambulance 641, yeah. Oh, 641. Be advised, we have a two-vehicle tractor trailer and a car. They're both in the breakdown lane prior to exit 64.
Basically, when the fire department gets on scene of a car accident, our primary role is to make sure that nobody's hurt, make sure none of the vehicles are on fire or have patients trapped inside of them.
In rescue 141 on scene, as reported, yeah. TN ambulance 641 transporting BLS to Rockville.
As we arrived on the scene, it was found that the patient was already loaded up in the ambulance. So basically, as we were pulling up, the ambulance was leaving and on their way to the hospital.
What do you have up there? No injuries, no fluids, very mild damage.
Our only job at that point is to protect the scene for the police department so they have a safe environment to do their job, and until the vehicles are taken away by the tow trucks.
We are strong. We are courageous.
We are fighters.
We're serious, but we do like to have fun.
We are caring.
We leave together, we come back together.
We are family.
We
are
the town of Vernon.
The town of Vernon.
The town of Vernon Fire Department.
Well, Kevin, Shannon, it's still an active scene here in Vernon as crews continue to do some work. Now, we spoke with Vernon Fire and Vernon Police, both describing the fire as an incredibly intense situation. Now, I'm going to step aside here so you can get a better look at what is happening. You can see that they are still dousing hot spots. And keep in mind, this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there are still some hot spots smoldering inside. There's also a demolition crew here that is getting prepared to take this building down. That will occur within the next day or so. Now, for those involved in investigating and fighting this fire, it has certainly been a very long day. Around 2 a.m. this morning, firefighters from Vernon and several surrounding towns responded to this, a former textile mill estimated to have been built in 1862, fully engulfed.
Upon our arrival, there was heavy fire from second, third, and floors rapidly spreading.
The intensity forced the evacuation of several homes across the street. The fire's heat melted the siding on one of them. The warehouse was previously used to store furniture, but was largely vacant when the fire occurred. However, Crystal Tool and Machine was a tenant.
I'm sort of in dismay. I don't know what I'm going to do now. My means of making a living down the drain.
Battling the blaze required mutual aid from 7 surrounding towns. There was also a huge demand for water. Making the situation more challenging was the weather, with falling snow and dangerous temperatures.
The cold weather is not good with water. The roads are freezing. And the health of people, obviously, is our main concern.
Eversource has been rerouting power and disengaging a gas line to the building, which will soon be demolished. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection is evaluating the nearby Hockanum River for runoff and testing debris for other hazardous materials, but so far has not located any serious environmental concerns.
You know, there's concerns that might have been asbestos. All of our testing we've done throughout this entire neighborhood so far has not found a single piece.
Now, that's the good news, that the environmental situation seems to be under control. Bad news is several people have been displaced. We are told that Red Cross is on the scene. They've set up some warming centers to help those people who have been moved outside of their homes. We did see them recently being allowed inside their homes to gather some of their belongings, but right now they're still looking for a place to stay warm. The warming centers are one of them. The town has told us they've not put them up in hotels as of yet, but they are evaluating that as a possibility depending upon how long this situation lasts. Now, as for a cause of the fire, that is still under investigation, but we're told that they are looking for the public's help. They are looking for surveillance video to see if anyone saw anything that might be suspicious. They're not saying it is suspicious, but they want to cover all of their bases. For now, we're live here in Vernon in the Rockville area. For NBC Connecticut News, I'm Mike Massaro. Back to you guys.
An historic former textile mill in Vernon, destroyed in a major fire yesterday, is being demolished today. Several homes in the area, in fact, had to be evacuated.
Rockville General has opened up their cafeteria for those who have been displaced and for the firefighters as well. But they're not staying away. They say that they're not keeping these crews away. They're just switching some of them out because these guys have been out here since 2 o'clock this morning. They've been in the freezing temperatures. At one point, I believe it was about 20 degrees here this morning, having to work in the cold, having to fight all of these elements this morning.
Demolition crews working to take this former textile mill on Brooklyn Street down, and it does signify the end of an era. It was built back in 1893. There was a major fire in the early hours of the morning yesterday. It engulfed the building, it gutted it, and for neighbors, they are saddened to see this historic building go.
When I heard the news, it was shocking, you know, like this building has been here forever, and kind of heartbreaking, you know, just the history lost from this building.
Looks like they got trucks all the way up to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it surprised me.
All the way around the bend.
And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance to say that I do believe I love you. And if I should ever go away, well then close your eyes and try. Feel the way we do today. And then if you can remember, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Well, you came in
Just wow. Between all those 3 videos at the beginning and this last part where I really appreciate in 2016 the Firehouse doing that, honestly, because it gives me a lead-in for this, to give our first responders the credit in the greatness they deserve, you know, the credit and the appreciation. Just being appreciative of the people in this town that we have, the multitude of people that come together and work together to make this town a better place to live. I know we have come a long way in this town. I don't know how or why, but I believe God has placed people in this town to lift it up and out. And we have been lifted up and are being lifted out of an era where, you know, the town was kind of like crumbling. Oh no, it's teetering, you know, it can go one way or it can go another. And for some reason, this town has taken and went into a direction that makes it a good place to live, even though a lot of our citizens are elderly that own houses, and then we have a lot of single parent homes here. However, we have a community that cares about one another, that when you're looking in, when you're inside of it, it's a great feeling. You can feel it. When we go to our, like, things like the fireworks, the parades, you know, anywhere where the town or group gets together, there's a feeling that you get in Rockville, in Vernon, Rockville especially, of love and warmth and acceptance that you don't see in many places. When that feeling of love and warmth and acceptance isn't there, that's when things start crumbling. And that's why we've seen things crumbling. People try to be what they aren't. And they treat people because they want to be something, they want to be bigger than they are. So they treat people under them that they feel are under them like they're crap. And they put on that air. And when they do that, they send out this energy that you can feel. Okay? We all emit our energies. You send out this energy that you can feel. And people push away from that. When you talk down on people, when you cut them down to size, you know, when you harp on the flaws instead of the good things. That's when I feel like how can I put it? You can tell the difference that even though I just sit alone now, when I go out into the world, if I'm walking down the street, I could feel a sense of belonging. Many of the businesses here, you know, are mom and pop stores, which we love to cater to. By local, you know, mom and pop stores. I can shout different ones out with this type of thing. We also have, you know, our churches, and I'm talking mainly in Rockville. We have our local businesses, our businessmen that make or break a town. The care and the time spent with the community's people You can tell when a town's person is explaining things right. What do I mean by that? Well, I know we have our mayor. His name is Mayor Dan Champagne. I am a low-income person. I actually came out of the shelter here 12 years ago. A little over 12 years ago. Almost 13. And that's when I got this apartment that I'm in. And every time I talk to Dan, Mayor Dan, he's real. He talks to me like I'm a human being. He explains things to me. I ask him a question, he'll give me an answer like I'm not stupid. He doesn't treat me like I'm stupid. He talks to me like a real person, like he'd talk to anybody else. And that's what I mean by, he doesn't just like, okay, you get out of here. He actually acknowledges when you say something to him. You could, you know, Peppermint at one point will tell you, she called to him one time just making a joke, and he turned around and smiled at her. Just that type of acknowledgement is big. It's huge. And he smiled at her. He knew it was a joke. He didn't have to say another word to her. He acknowledged her. And that's what people do in this town, especially when we see they're not stuck up. Ken Kaplan is not stuck up. Dan Champagne, Michael Wendis, they're all real people. Our other, you know, our other people, they're all real. They're not stuck up. We had a cleanup crew, and our town's representatives that are in the town hall working for us were out there helping us clean up the town for free Wednesday nights. And they all pitched in and helped. They worked with us. They worked with people who have been to court that had to do their civil duty because it was a penalty to them. So they worked besides criminals. Considered a criminal if you're arrested, right? You did something wrong. They also worked, you know, right next to our high school students that had to have credits. They get community credit for community service. That's what it's called. Including our children from the high school in what goes on in the town is huge. Making a better place for us is huge. Bringing businesses in is huge. The only way we're going to get to be a better town is the more businesses that come in means there's more revenue for the town, first of all, but it also means more jobs. And if there's more jobs, more people are going to move here. The more people that move here, better revenue. The more revenue the town makes, the better they can serve their community. It takes money to build up a town. And we are in a revival. And Mayor Dan has been part of that revival. He's been the facilitator. Ken Kaplan, Michael Wendis. I'd even go to say Brian Flint. I'll throw out their names. And there's much more than I know. You know, I'm throwing out the ones that I know. Craig Wright. Craig Wright is one of the newer businesses around here. He's been here a little bit long time now, but he's got a nice little restaurant in the center of town, and I invite you to go there. It's a great kitchen. It's a great restaurant. And a very nice person. Treat you like your family. People at Rockville Pharmacy. Great people. You got people that do taxes. Carl Slicer. He does background checks, and his wife does the taxes side of the business. He's always trying to do well for the community, always trying to help people out where he can. They all do. They all know what it's like to start at the bottom, too. So, what I have decided to do a little talk with this lady that lives in town that is in the same social class as I am, and we decided to talk about. She agreed to talk to me about certain things about the town and how it feels to be a part of this town, and we discussed certain things like our first responders, like the fire that just recently happened. She lives right near that fire, and she witnessed it. I wanted to welcome, we call her Peppermint. We don't want to use the real name with her. I don't mind my real name because I'm doing this all the time. We're going to be discussing the first responder and the whole town as in general with the service, and also, you know, what it's like to be around town. There are many more business owners like Ed Johansson and John Regina, also name a few more that are great people. So I just felt like hounds, first responders, and unfortunately it was just, you know, the fire stuff that I could get up. But first responders include not just the fire department, they're EMT, firefighters, nurses, police, military, you know, and then you're going to hear us talking, and I get the TKB club wrong. The TKB club is a Polish club. I thought it was the Italian American club. So, welcome to my show, Peppermint. How are you doing today?
Yeah, hi. Okay, how are you?
I'm doing okay. There's a lot of people that live here, have lived here since they were born and raised here, and they don't leave here. But here.
Right.
What is your take on the town in general about how it feels to live and thrive in Vernon?
It's very good. It's very close to a lot of places. It's very easy to get around. The first responders and everything are pretty quick, you know, as much as they do really good. And then there's a lot of groups around online that help people around, help people that live here when they need something, which is really good. We all help each other.
Yeah, and that's the community comes together. KB Club even helped out with like food and stuff with the first responders at the fire.
That's what I heard. Yes.
So I mean, there's a lot that to be said, and we do talk about later on about the rivalries that the schools have, in general. However, on an adult level, on a community level, our surrounding towns, they deserve the kudos too, because they come in and help whenever they're needed. And the 7, 8, 9, 10 fire departments that came and helped and aided us in this recent fire. I mean, it's just overwhelming to me the amount of care the surrounding towns care about each other too, and will come in. The video said they would die for each other. They help each other.
Exactly. yes, we do. And they help us out
And
a lot.
that's something many of us, we just take for granted, and we're overwhelmed. And like I said, they put their lives on the line. They leave their families for us. I mean, and many of them, most of them are volunteer, and they don't get paid for it. And they're out in the weather for hours on end, 10 hours.
10 hours they were out there.
So I couldn't imagine that. I mean, one picture is worth 1,000 words, and that picture I included with the fire truck with the ice on it. Could you imagine that being human flesh after 10 hours? I couldn't.
Well, when I some of the pictures there of the trees, I took a walk down, and there was a whole bunch of the trees, and the branches were all wet and frozen. It was ice on them, and it was kind of neat to see, but it was sad.
Yeah, at the same time, you know why it was there? It was there because of our fire department's water put in a fire. It's really for all the first responders, not just the town of Vernon, but for the surrounding towns too, because I mean, they come and help us just as much as Vernon does, I mean, when they're needed. And most of them are volunteer as well.
Right.
The volunteers, they don't get paid for this. I remember when my uncle used to leave. I was telling you, I remember when my uncle left for fire calls. He'd keep his coat and boots and hat and everything next to the door when he was home.
Yeah.
And I think he left it in the car when he was at work. But
Right.
he would just, even if he was eating, he wouldn't even finish his meal. He'd take one last bite. If he was on that bite, he'd just get up and go. No questions asked, no byes, no kisses, no nothing. He'd just run. Because it meant that there was a emergency. I don't know how my aunt did it all those years, not worrying about him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he is. He said, "I love you," and
no, he just got up and left. He just got up and left and walked out the door.
Really?
Yeah, it was an emergency. If it's an emergency call, it's an emergency.
Yeah.
They leave their families for ours, I mean, it's, they just go. It's an emergency. I got to get there as quickly as possible. Every single minute counts.
Right.
And then, like in the videos, they said some of them were there for 10 hours. They're not getting paid for that.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And believe me, they were working their tail off.
Yeah, well, you saw how much they were doing. I mean, I just saw videos of it, and I was traumatized. You were right there.
I mean, I'm glad I didn't see the first part of it, the bad part, because that would have really messed me up.
Yeah, watching the bad parts of the two fires that were here, the one across the street and one down the street, that was probably what traumatized me and my daughter the most. My daughter's definitely afraid of fires now. Definitely.
Yeah.
Always checking the stove. My daughter at 13, always checking the stove.
Yeah.
Did you put the stove up, Mommy? Make sure you shut the oven off, and this and that. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
She won't even leave her Chromebook plugged in overnight. Because well, she's watched shows, and she's right. They some get so hot that they catch fire.
Yeah.
There's been kids burned and people burned, and they fell asleep with their headsets on their phone because of it. The lithium batteries, I think it's the batteries too.
Yeah.
Even those hoverboards have a bad tendency to light on fire when they're being charged.
And we have one for my daughter, but we kept an eye on it when it was charging.
Well, yeah.
We leave it alone.
Yep, I use my toaster, I unplug it. Most of my appliances I use and I unplug. Coffee pot stays plugged in, and my oven, microwave oven stays plugged in. Of course, the oven in the refrigerator too. Everything,
Right.
everything else
Yeah,
is
those.
unplugged when not using.
Right. Yeah, that's the first thing that you unplug is the toaster, and then the coffee maker. Or not the coffee maker. I'm sorry. The something else. There's something else that we unplug. But that's it.
Yeah, so.
You know, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't want to go through that.
Oh no. Across the street, you know what it was? It was the kids were playing with matches, and I was impressed because the kid actually fessed up to it. The parents weren't home. One of the kids, the older kids, was in charge of the younger kids, and one of the kids was playing with matches, put the match in the back, in the backyard container next to the house. Thought the match was out, but it wasn't. And that's what started that fire. And we had a teenager that actually got a child out of that house, a baby. A child and a baby, I think it was, but I know the baby definitely.
Yeah.
But the parents were not home; they were working, and for all intents and purposes, the teenager was old enough to watch her siblings. It's like next door here. And that's what started that fire. But what traumatized me was I all those years of knowing my uncle was and seeing him run out of the house, when we were over there, and knowing my cousin is a fireman, and he is a fireman in Ellington right now, and he's also a career fireman. It just hit home with the fire across the street that when I saw one of the firefighters, and I missed getting this picture, run in the front door when the flames were coming out the top of it. So his helmet was like inches away from the flames. To go check to make sure everybody was out.
Right.
That's what traumatized me. That's when I got worried. I'm like, holy cannoli. I mean, I was worried about other, houses catching on fire and stuff, but I didn't realize. I mean, when you see it up close and personal and see what they do and see them running in like that, that is amazing. First of all, for a person to put their lives on the line, that they're not running away from something dangerous, but they're actually putting they don't wear capes.
I'm so glad that with my ex, when I met him, he was just about out, because I don't think I would have been able to deal with that.
Yeah.
And leaving and going to fires. I don't. And you know what? He wanted to be one of those fire jumpers.
What's that?
From the plane.
Oh, okay. All right.
Jumping from a plane and then fighting a forest fire or whatever.
Okay.
He wanted to do that, and I was like, and then as soon as he, they had that call with that 2-year-old that died in his arms, he was like, that's it, I'm done.
Well, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Because not only, then we get to the fire down the street, on the corner where in front of where the mini mart was. And my friend Monica lived there. And she lost her pets. But when I saw that fire, which from what I understand they haven't found the cause for, but I know there's rumor around town that on the outside that somebody wasn't putting water in. When you smoke, you gotta smoke responsibly if you have a bad habit,
Exactly. Right.
And so anyways, that was the rumor, but they never proved it. So, what we know is, all we know is not, they couldn't find the reason. And I guess on the other side of the building, there were 2 elderly people all the way up top in the top window that were trying to get out, and they couldn't get out the doors because the doors were on the other side where the fire started.
Right.
That day, it was windier than all heck, and there was a big danger of catching all the other houses on fire, and it actually did catch the house in back of it on fire.
Right. It got the one right next to it.
Yep. They were able to repair that one after, but they put that one out real quick. But yeah, it was so windy that's what happened. But before the firefighters even got there, they had a ladder up on the house trying to get the people out of the house, and they, you know, praise God that they had smoke inhalation, which is bad enough, you know. But
I mean, I saw the smoke and everything.
Oh yeah,
the smoke was came right over us. I mean, I could smell and everything.
At any given time, it went over your way, it went over my way, it went over towards Ellington, towards Rockville Center, you know. I mean, so I'm to the west, so I'm you know, from that house I'm going more towards 7-Eleven down there, you know, where, you know, going towards where Manchester area. So and the wind kept shifting. That was one of the problems. But the thing that's amazing with that is there was a man there that was in the armed services. I think I forget which one he was.
Yeah, I heard that.
And him and a lady put a ladder there, and there was like timber falling all around them, and they got those people out.
Right.
I was impressed. I mean, we might have lost a few pets, and I'm sorry for Monica. I cried. I'm gonna cry now, but I'm sorry. Monica lost, you know, her pets, but at least her daughter was safe. Her daughter's boyfriend, you know, her other little girl. I mean, that could have been so much worse. And you know, these are old houses. That house was very dry wood. Went up real quick.
And also the house over on Tuckett Avenue.
Yep.
Tuckett Road.
I think I got a picture off the internet for that one. I didn't see that one.
My friend's daughter lived on the 3rd floor.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah. They got out, her and her boyfriend and everything got out, and the roommates, but they lost their cats.
But everybody got out safe.
Everybody got out safe.
And then you had one across the street from the hospital in the old build, you know, where they have the storefront, and then they got the apartments above them. That's an old building. They had that fire, candles.
Right, candle.
Yep. And there were people trapped in there that they got out, hanging out windows. But they all got out, and thank God the hospital was right across the street for that one. I guess they had I was watching a news story the other day when I was looking for things to put on the internet, and one of the things they were saying was that they had gurneys and stuff on the outside in the middle of the highway and everything, you know, waiting for the people. They got everybody out of there too. Then we had the explosion up near Grove Street, I think Grove Street. The exploded house.
Yep.
I don't know much about that one. Yeah, I didn't follow that one as closely. The explosion.
On High Street too.
Yep. And I don't know about that one. I don't know what started that one.
I don't either.
But
that one literally woke me up.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at because they had the spotlight from the truck, and it was going right to my window. And it woke me up.
Yeah, right.
And all I did, I looked out my window and watched.
And you know,
then I put it on. Then I put it on live on Facebook.
Yep. And well, you know, and you know, I'm saying like all these fires, these happened over a period of years. I'm not talking about all at once. You know, I'm over a period of years, but.
Right.
the thing with all the fires that we've had that in Vernon, in Vernon, in general, the bigger area of Vernon, we're talking about Rockville, which is a village in Vernon that started out as a little village, a little mill town. But you got all of Vernon, and I don't see, knock on wood, any fatalities or anybody that gets majorly hurt in these fires.
Yeah.
And, I mean, our firefighters, they do get hurt a little bit, but they're not major hurt, They're not, we're not losing anybody. And I knock on wood, and I give kudos to our firefighters for that. Because,
they do a great job. Yeah.
The recent fire just showed us how old these buildings are. The beams are, kindle wood, they're very dry, and they can go up very quickly. And, you got a bonfire on steroids.
Yeah.
A bonfire on steroids with that.
Yeah. I mean, the floors were soaked with oil. I mean, then you got the welding shop downstairs. You know what I mean?
I think that was John Yedzaniak owned that. He used to own my aunt's house up in Crystal Lake. And I think that's the same John that was in there, because he was a welder, and he had a welding shop in Crystal Lake on that property. My uncle, they took that barn down, that building down, and my cousin, looks like my cousin built something back up on there. My cousin still lives up there. You remember where my aunt used to live, correct?
No, I don't.
Do you remember Aunt Pidgey at all? Emmanuel?
No, I didn't know your family.
You didn't know Emmanuel or anything? Because Emmanuel and Lloyd were close. So, yeah, I miss Manny. He's my favorite. He was one of my favorite cousins. I'm not going to lie. I have 19 cousins, as far as first cousins go. Manny.
I don't even know how many cousins I have, to tell you.
I had so many. I had like 3 or 4 favorite cousins. You can't pick a favorite, but Manny was up there. He was my bodyguard because he was so big and tall, He was my protector, and you know how short I am. So
right.
But yeah, I think that was John Yedzaniak that owned that. I could be wrong. Don't mark my words on that one. Somebody will probably correct me in comments or something if I'm wrong. But he's got a history in this town too. I mean, poor guy lost his shop. Now what's he gonna do? He's an older gentleman.
He's been there for years too.
Yeah, probably since the 70s. Because that's when my aunt bought the house that he owned.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I remember when my father and my stepmom lived on Brooklyn Street. I believe it was either the gray house, the multiple, the one next to the red house.
Yes.
It was either the red house or the other house. I'm not sure which one it was. But that was back when I was 12 years old.
Wow. Yeah, we're old. Well, we're old. I'm sorry. You're not old. I am.
No,
I'm an old lady now. But yeah, that was back in the 70s. I mean, who else can say, oh, that was back in the 70s, and all of a sudden it's the 1970s,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd say that was back in 1970. You can just say it's the 70s.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like the building down here when they had the back in 1962 when they had that murder.
Yep, that's that building that they had the murdering. I read, what was it, the owner and some employee came in and shot him?
Yep.
So see, back then they had disgruntled employees shooting people too, just like they have today. So, I mean, Back then it was a little bit more dangerous in Rockville than it is now. Wonder why that is, you know? We've come a long way.
Yeah.
We really have.
Yeah.
Before, when I was growing up, Rockville was our... Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Rockville?
No, I grew up in Manchester.
Okay, and I grew up in Ellington. So, Ellington and Rockville were very big rivals. So, growing up in Ellington, you really didn't want nothing to do with anything Rockville. You know?
Yeah. Well, Manchester didn't like South Windsor. We didn't like Glastonbury. We didn't like Talland.
I don't know who it is now. Well, I didn't mind Talland as far as the rivalry goes. I played soccer for 9 years in Ellington, and I played on the school team too. And that's how I know that we had a big, thing. We didn't like Rockville. But, Talland, the rivalry, we had rivalries, as far as sports teams go, but we all respected each other, us and Talland, and all that. I really didn't feel a sense of anything like that, except for there was one time, I forgot who we were playing, and the girl kicked me just to get me out of the game. Then the coach wouldn't let me go back in the game because I wanted to go back in to take her out. Her coach actually told her to take me out. I'm like, what? I'm like, crap. I was tough back in the day, I guess. I was tough. What? Yeah.
Oh, your brother was, that's for sure.
Oh, I tell you, well, you grow up the way we did. You just tend to, kind of, want to stick up for yourself after a while, So anyways, I think what got me through some of my years until I was 17, and then after 17, I started drinking and smoking, quit the soccer team. That's when I really started kind of getting into arguments at school. Otherwise, it was the soccer really kept me from doing that, especially when we scrimmaged the boys. I love scrimmaging the boys because I love slide tackling in the mud. The girls didn't slide tackle.
I played, when I was in middle school, it was Bennett Junior High. I went to Bennett, and I was in the softball team. And I was a pitcher 1 year because my gym teacher saw how I threw the ball, and she's like, "Oh, you got to be the pitcher."
Yeah.
And in softball team, I was like, "Oh, great."
Well, the whole thing with me being a pitcher was, I think they put me in the pitcher role and in second base. Those are the two places I played in the first year of softball I played, and it's because I have no arm. I can't throw the ball far at all.
Yeah.
I still can't. And even grasping a football and throwing that, I can't throw it far, but I can kick a ball. My legs are very strong. When I was working out in my 30s, I could bench press like almost 250, 275.
Yeah, that's how I was with my legs.
But with my arms, 5 pounds, 10 pounds. I was like such a wimp. It was. It stands to reason that it's offset, anyways.
Yeah.
But that much shouldn't be offset, with working out. So I gotta apologize for my coughing. Between getting over that cold and smoking, I got this awful cough. The stuff going around. So if I cough when I'm laughing or something, please don't take offense to it. Well, in a way, it's about faith, because we got to put our faith in somebody, correct? So personal faith is in God first, but I have faith that God puts those people in positions that can answer the call of duty, with all of this. And Zaniac lost his business, and then there was another lady I felt bad for. The lady that worked at the TKB club. Now, I don't know what it is, but it's the Italian American club, right? That's the Italian club. Somebody called it a Polish club on TV, and I'm like, no, that's the Italian club. But
I'm not sure.
could be.
I'm not sure what it is.
You know what? with the way life is right now, with the way they're picketing and everything, it might as well just be called the every person's club, because all inclusion club, because you know it's the TKB, the Italian American Club. I don't think it's the Polish club. But she worked there, and like she said, that building's a staple of Rockville. It's been here since, you know, the beginning of time, basically.
Well, if it wasn't, you know what, if it wasn't for the river, I think it would, the TDTA, that club would
TKB.
have, yeah, I can never
Would have
say
went
it.
up too.
But yeah, it would have went up too.
You know what? I looked at that picture, by the way, and it looks like the fire caught the power lines on fire, not the other way around.
Yep, it started.
Yeah.
That's how it started, they said.
Who said that, though? I mean,
A friend of
you said a
mine,
friend of yours said it,
that.
but, you know, I want to see what they say, too, you know. And just, that's
Right.
word of mouth. We know what word of mouth is right now, right?
Right.
So, word of mouth that we got was it was a transformer that
Right,
blew.
right.
Which I can see. Like I said, it was snowing, cold, and raining, and transformers blow like when it does that.
And all that smoke around that transformer.
Yeah, but to me, how did it get between the bricks into the building?
Right.
And it was boarded up, right? Were those boards attached to the brick, or were they attached to the, you know, to more wood?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know.
Yeah, because if they were attached to brick, I don't see, wouldn't the brick protect it more from fire? I don't know anything about that. That's something out of my league.
I think fire attacks anything and everything. It doesn't care. It really.
Yeah, but to have a
care.
spark from a transformer blow across the street is what I'm saying. To me, it would have to do the wood. I don't think a spark from on a brick would do it unless it was a big. I don't know. I don't know
either.
I know nothing about that stuff, so that's something somebody would have to comment on and let us know.
Yeah.
And then you get, you know, we don't hear of anybody, knock on wood again, you know, that it doesn't happen, please God. But these people, they put their life and their families on hold, their lives on a limb. You know, they're going out and, you know, last year, the fire down the road in front of the hospital, that was around this time. I mean, no, that was a little bit further. That one was after the fire across from the Aram's Mini Mart. Aram's Mini Mart was a year ago, and there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
And then this one across this street, it happened, I forgot the year, but it happened on Christmas time.
Yeah.
It was very cold that day.
I think they said the day before Christmas.
Yeah. Actually there was, and you know, they were so nice that the firefighters actually gave the presents back to the kids, you know, for the kids.
Right.
And that's another thing they do every year, you know, which, you know, I mean, it's all in the video. But then I want to talk about, you know, we get moved to just the amazing amount of calls we get for our police department. Constant calls. I mean, domestic violence. They got, you know, like the one next door here. They got a lot of calls for overdoses.
Yeah.
We do have a homeless population that we do, you know, house.
We have lost so many homeless.
Yeah.
To drugs.
Yeah.
It's all.
We gotta say that not all homeless people do drugs or drink. Okay, around here.
I mean, the ones we have lost, and I know them.
The ones we have lost.
Yes.
That were homeless.
Yep.
There's a lot of homeless, you know, because, you know, they're the ones that don't want to call the police.
Right.
You know, those are the ones that are getting left behind by their so-called friends. Because I know my father's wife, she had her son. Her son was older. I think he was 19 or 20 or in his 20s. And he went out drugging with somebody in his car. And he overdosed and the person just left him there to die.
Yeah.
Didn't call anybody. And that's what these people do because they're afraid of getting in trouble for their drugs. They're doing something wrong.
Right.
And unfortunately that happens. But then you got the other ones that carry the Narcan on them and, you know, try to help. But then we have also people like Mr. Lucke-Benedict that are actively involved in organizations that help our homeless population. Not only our homeless, but we also have they help anybody that's an addict or, you know, for addiction. And they do amazing work around here. But our police officers are the first responders to go on those calls with the Narcan, with the, you know, drugs, with the, you know, even our emergency medical calls are first. Every emergency medical call I've seen and had has been a police first responding, and then the ambulance is a first responder too, you know?
Right.
So you got the ambulance team, you got the police teams, you know, you got the canine unit too, which he came out for us.
Isn't that like the state?
I don't know. We have a canine unit in Vernon.
In Vernon.
Yeah. You didn't know that? Okay. We just got a new dog too. We just got a new canine unit. He was at some of the stuff around town this summer.
They had at this fire. There was a golden lab first, and then 2 shepherds went in.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, with canine units, you got, you know, ones that are cadaver dogs that go in. Just they're well, I don't know. They sniff out for especially cadavers, anything that's rotting flesh. Then you also got dogs that sniff out bombs and drugs and all that. So they could have been having a dog that was just trying to sniff out certain things, chemicals and stuff that are created with bombs or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, somebody has to put that in the comments too.
Right.
But we do have a canine unit, and the dog's beautiful. The dog's beautiful.
Yeah, they are. There's 2 shepherds. I saw them. That whole I went to walk by one of the cop cars, and because the other cop said it was okay to do that, so I do that, and the dog started barking at me. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong.
I don't have no drugs on me.
It wasn't me. I didn't do anything
no drugs.
wrong.
I have nothing. I'm not decaying. I promise. I might be old, but I'm not decayed yet. That's funny. Yeah, so we got all our first responders. They're really amazing people because, I mean, even the car accidents. I mean, the car accidents, I think, is probably where they see the most death and the most gore.
Right.
And the calls where people are killed. And I don't hear too many of those calls around here. I hear of kids playing with guns. And, I mean, even the gun next door, the kid that had the gun, he was 18. To me, that's still a kid. You know, that's still a teenager.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's old enough to be he's old enough to know better.
Exactly.
But we got kids with guns around, you know. And unfortunately, that's the sign of the time. So we can be, you know, Rockville, or we can be innocent all we want. And, you know, we have less crime with that stuff than I hear about in even places like Manchester. And I'm sorry to say that about Manchester. Manchester's a nice place, too. And probably has a nice people. But
it used to be really, really
But
nice.
Manchester has gotten a little bit worse with their crime rate. And what I hear is coming out of there. And it's more of the gun violence, of the, you know, I hear of people dying, and unfortunately in fires in that town. It's heartbreaking, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing the town. I'm like, Rockville has come a long way, like I said. You know, we have our problems, you know, we have our problem areas and our problem citizens, and, you know, I think every town does.
They're being worked on, I know that.
Yeah. Well, we were considered one of the worst towns to live in, poorest towns to live in at one point, back in the, you know, early 2000s, and even the 1999. Rockville did not have a very good reputation.
Well, you know what? I was looking online, or it was YouTube, I think, or no, Google, and I put on there. I said, in Connecticut, what are the worst towns to live in? We're not even on that list.
Not anymore. We've come off that list.
Look, we're not even on that list. I'm like, holy cow.
Willimantic's number one.
No, it isn't.
Well, it was number one on the one that I watched the other day.
Yeah.
The worst town. Because of the drugs.
Hartford is second.
You got Hartford, New Haven, and Willimantic are pretty bad. There's another town down the shore way.
Not Bloomfield. Bloomfield, Bloomfield, bad.
I know New London was on that list that I watched.
Okay, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, but way back when I looked it up, there was one point I saw Rockville was on the list.
Yeah.
Of bad places to live, and since honestly, I've been here since like 1999. 1998, I think I moved here with my husband to my mother-in-law's house.
Oh my God, I don't know what year it was, but my father and my stepmom lived over on Village Street when it was bad.
Yeah, my family is from Rockville, that I grew up with. Grandpa Hickey, his father was from Hartford, and then Rockville, and then Grandma, she was from Rockville.
We're probably family.
Probably extended family, yeah.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Because Grandpa Hickey, most of his, when I was looking it up, came from Hartford. Grandma was more, our family tree on Grandma's side come from Rhode Island, Fall River. And then Grandpa Lamont, he was a barber, and he came here, and he was a barber in Rockville. And then Grandma, that's when they went in the 40s and 50s up to Ellington in Crystal Lake. That's my grandmother's father owned that property and gave it to Grandma. Or actually, I think the girls, the grandchildren had two places of land that were supposed to be theirs that Grandpa decided. My grandfather didn't even own the land. You know, my grandmother did. But he decided to build on and sell them. Or, you know, took them right out from underneath my two aunts. You know, my Aunt Pidgey and my Aunt Claire. And my Aunt Vivian, I mean. And my Aunt Claire. And, you know, that wasn't too nice of him to do. My grandfather wasn't really a nice guy. I hate to say that about my family, but we have a generation of curses in our family. Just everybody has generational curses, and it's up to us to recognize them and to break them and to try to better our children. So break those curses, you know. So anyways, they grew up here, they lived here, and Steve's father, oh my God, they're from Rockville. He grew up in Rockville. His mother and father came over on the boat. His father was from Patmos in Sicily, and his mother was grandmother. You know, my father-in-law's mother was from Catania in Sicily.
I think my great-grandmother came from Russia, right over from the boat.
Into Rockville?
She came into Coventry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
My family is originally from Coventry.
Okay. Yeah, and we're originally from Rockville, and Grandpa's, I think, was more Hartford than anything. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up again, but I just, like I told you, I just got rid of my Ancestry subscription because it was almost $300.
Yeah, that's my
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, my father's side of the family is from East Hartford.
Yeah, so, that's pretty wild, Maybe that's, maybe, because if your father's from East Hartford, and, we'll have to check out our genealogy one day, So anyways, getting back to the subject, Rockville has, it was originally a mill town, and, I'd have to have an historian for Rockville, somebody who really knows the history on one day to tell the history. But it started as Rockville itself, in the village, started as a mill town. I do know that. And I do know Steve's father told me that each street had a different ethnicity. Okay, one was Italian, one was Polish, one was Russian, one was this, one was that. And the languages were all different. Like in the mill that Ken Kaplan just restored, or is still restoring, because there's a lot more to do there. You had your English speak, and you had your French speak, and nobody could really communicate.
What
did you know that happened in the mills? They didn't communicate. That they were.
Yeah, but what did they make there? I forgot.
I think they made linens there.
Okay.
Like, I know parachute linen, but I think they also made something for the president. Ken has it up on the plaque up on the wall, where there's a letter from the president. I think they made his suit or something one time. I'd have to when I talk to Ken, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I told you, he agreed to talk to me. It's just a matter of when now. I asked him way back in January, and it's now what, December? So he might have changed his mind. he either might have changed his mind. Oh, he's hugely busy. Ken Kaplan is one that restored one of the old mills down here. A lot of these mills have been breaking down over the years. Huh?
Did he? I didn't know that.
You didn't know he bought that mill?
No, I know he bought that mill, but I mean, I thought you were saying that he restored the other mill.
No, he
the
restored
one the street from me.
Where the motorcycle museum is.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
the one he's restoring. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Right.
That's the one that made the linen.
Yeah.
And he's still got a long way to go, because there's like 5 or 6 buildings on that lot. Football field's long.
Is huge.
Yeah. He had a good his vision might have changed, but he had an awesome vision for that area, that building. He's got an awesome vision. But then COVID happened. So now we got to get back into the swing of things, and he's got to get the money back, and a lot of businesses lost money. But Ken Kaplan's one that, instead of, many of these old mills are being made into apartment houses. Ken Kaplan has made it into a building to where it's possible business, where jobs are going to be created, and he wanted to do education in it. I don't know if it's still a vision of his, but he wanted to teach people how to do. He wanted a motorcycle college in it. He wanted dorms in it. Yeah, I'll talk to him. When I talk to him, I don't know if his vision changed or if it's put on hold or not. But there's a lot that's changed since he first bought it and I first started, met him, with the cleanup crew. And I haven't talked to him recently because, like I said, I lost use of walking around town, and I was just walking around with them all. Yeah. And we had a good thing going, and he has a great thing going there. And like I said, if he continues with the vision, it's going to create more job. It's going to open up opportunity. He's going to have another place where he can do these, you know, I mean, he could probably extend the firework thing and have something around the fireworks, you know, with the, you know, but more geared towards the people who like the motorcycle stuff, you know, stuff like that. But he has to, I mean, that's my thought, but, you know, it probably is not something that'll work because he needs the money, whatever revenue was generated for his, you know, events to go towards that mill. You know, he really needs that now. You know, he got a lot of help. That's blood, sweat, and tears there.
Right.
I mean, it didn't come overnight, and it didn't come with just his money. He had, there were times there was one time I remember he was going to sell his house in, I think he lives in Coventry. He was going to sell that beautiful land and everything there just to save the museum. And he was going to live up in the Bixby house, which is that house up on the hill, that White House on the hill. That's connected. That's where the owner of the mill used to live. Well, no. The owner of the mill that originally owned the mill, the Hockenham Mill, I think that's called the Hockenham Mill. The original owner lived in that house. That was part of the deal with the Hockenham, with that mill. So Ken owns all that land. His son is in there now, His son is in there, but he was gonna stay there because he wanted to save, you know, he wanted the money for the mill. You know, he really wanted, he had the vision.
Well,
And
that was his plan. Ever since the computer place. He's always been like that.
Oh, I think he's an amazing person. He really is. I mean, he taught me how not to be as hard on people as I am.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were talking and I said, yeah, this and that, he goes, yeah, but we all got things about us, Marie. You know, he's the first to give chances, but you don't want to mess with him, you know. You don't want to lose that chance. Yeah. You don't want to take advantage of him, you know. He's a very nice person. And his family's beautiful. What I can say about the Kaplans is, and something that I really sometimes don't like, is when people think that they're, you know, the kids are spoiled rotten. No, those kids grew up just like we did. Ken doesn't have money overnight, you know. Ken doesn't just hand things to his kids either. His kids learn to earn, you know, just like he did. And his mother was I think he said a doctor or something. His mother was a doctor. And the whole thing is he's a self-made man. He didn't grow up rich. You know, and you know, he's not made a lot of money. I mean, he's got a lot of money invested in that building, but so does, I mean, he had a barter for money, you know, to get what he's had done.
Right.
So, you know, but and if you talk to him, he talks to you like you're a human being, just like you're on the same level as he is. He doesn't, he's not snooty about anything.
No, he isn't.
He won't, and even our mayor, Dan Champagne, he doesn't do that. He'll sit there and talk to you.
No.
He'll talk to homeless people. No. They talk to homeless people. Ken would sign off. We would be doing the cleanup crew, and we'd have kids that had to do public service for the school or out of court.
Yeah.
And he would take those kids and give them the credits they needed to bring back to court or to bring back to school.
Yep.
I mean, and he talked to those kids. I mean, he was all for he loves kids. And whenever kid can, he does. But he doesn't want no more of his own, but he loves kids, you know. I do see him, his face lights up with children. And so, you know, it's like he's all for the kids. Like, you know, there was me and Emily, and then another mother with two other kids. We were all like single parents. and we were doing a cleanup crew. And, you know, he didn't talk down on us once. Not once.
Really?
And he gave us, you know, credit. You know, I didn't do that much either. I'm lazy. I'm not a good worker. I like to take pictures is my thing. I used to take pictures all the time and get people sick of me. So I took a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Emily helped a little bit, you know, but boy, one of them, the other lady that I worked with, she was a hard worker. Most of them were hard workers, and they were business owners, and there was a few town representatives, you know, selectmen from the town, you know, elected officials from the town that helped us. We had a 98-year-old person helping us, and our youngest volunteer was like 2 years old.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome? And so, you know, Danny never looks down on you. He, you know, you can be homeless and he'll ask him questions. He'll sit down and he'll listen to you and answer your questions.
Yeah.
No matter what level of income you have, social class you are. And Ken's the same way. And most of the business owners in this town are like that.
Yes, they are.
Did you notice that? Like, the business owners will talk to you before, you know, the poor people will.
That's like Craig's.
I was thinking about Craig. Yep. Craig's Kitchen.
Craig is he is a really good guy. I've talked to him. He's the one that saw the fire across from the hospital. He's the one that called 911.
Yeah, I saw a lot of his pictures of that were taken by him, and so I didn't steal those off because it said Craig's right on it. Craig Wright.
Yeah, I remember he told me about it. He told me he was the one that, you know, whatever. I think I was walking in the store, and he said something. I was like,
so maybe when my card's all straightened out and everything, and you remember how I wanted to go around town taking pictures, maybe we can stop in and see Craig and say hi to him.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got the pizza place that's there. Everybody's so nice. And then of course, you know,
when you get the hair places.
Yep, I haven't been.
Good guys over there. They're good guys.
Have you been to the new laundromat down where Rockville Fine?
Over there all the time.
I heard it's a nice place. I haven't been there yet.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous in there. It is so clean.
How's the owners? The owners really nice?
They are actually they own what do you call that on Union Street? The other one, the cleaners, the cleaners there.
Oh, I don't know. Swiss Cleaners?
Huh?
Swiss Cleaners?
Yeah, Swiss.
Oh, that's not Union Street. That's well, it's connected to Union Street. That's Talketville Ave, right? Talketville?
Yeah, that's Talketville Ave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
they own that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
I heard that's very nice in there.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna work for them, but because they said they have other stores and I might go to a different store, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, so
I just wanted to go right across the street and that's that.
That's a place I could work at. I worked in laundry for 15 years. I do know how to do that stuff. Isn't that terrible? And then you have the, Rockville Pharmacy. I've been going there for years. They know me by name. They know where I live. Do you want it? They call me sometimes when I forget my prescription. Do you want it? Can you deliver it? Do you want it? Yeah, tomorrow. Are you going to be home? Yeah. My mother, when my mother was alive, I was helping to take care of her. And I got a story about that pharmacy. Now, I've used them for years. There's a lot said for the rapport you make with, and it's different with mom and pop businesses than it is with corporated businesses. Right. And I feel when you make that rapport, when you have that You know, you keep your business going to one place all the time. They get to know you and you get to know them. And so they knew that my mom was my mom. And I think they knew my grandma too. No, they didn't know my grandma. They knew my mom and her husband though. And they know me. They knew my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my husband, of course, lived up there. You know, so, you know, we've all been giving them our business. And you go in there, you get smiles all the time. You're in and out like 2 minutes. Whereas you go to CVS or some place that's incorporated that has more change than you change your underwear, you know?
Well, you know what? That's how
you wait and wait and wait and wait. But Rockville Pharmacy, you don't. And the whole thing is when my mom, I had an aide working for my mom overnight. She had my mother put a life insurance policy in her name and had it notarized at Rockville Pharmacy because at that time the head pharmacist was a notary of Republic, lived next to my uncle Danny.
It was called Beacon.
Yeah, that's when it was called Beacon. And, well, it was changing over the Rockville Pharmacy though. And so anyways, they called me. The lady recognized it and she knew that that wasn't her daughter. And it was just an aide. And so she called me. And I'm like, oh, I'm so bad with money, Lena. I'm so bad with money. My brother was doing the money's part. He could do that. You know, he's on the other side of the state. So I was doing the food and making sure she had care and doing the medical side of it. And I called my brother. My brother called my uncle. They came down. They had to fix that. And I did have that aide arrested. But if it wasn't for Rockville Pharmacy and the lady calling me because, you know, something was up, I wouldn't have never known.
Yeah.
That's how much this town people care about each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a small thing, but it meant a big thing. It meant so much.
Right. Yeah.
And those are the type of things in this town that happen that, you know, I mean, I used to walk, say hi to everybody. When you say hi, I used to love to walk the you know, around town. Say hi to everybody in the morning. I think there was only one time that I ever got a, what's so nice about it? But then the next, I got a smile. I bought him a coffee.
Well, that's like the Walshes. McDonald's. I know it's a big corporation, but the Walshes actually, they're great people. They really are. I used to work for them.
Okay.
So they're really good too. They're good around here.
Yeah.
I mean, they own all different places.
And the stuff Danny's been doing for this town.
Yeah.
The wheeling and dealing. I mean, the sidewalks. I'll never forget the sidewalks. Poor Danny. I feel so bad. We were given an app to put down everything that's wrong with the city so that the city would fix it. Or I don't call this a city. I call it a little, you know, it's a village. It's our village. You know, Rockville is a village. I love the term village because it makes you feel more like old times, you know. Makes you feel more cozy, you know. But poor Dan Champagne, Mayor Dan, we were told by the certain person that, take and put everything down on this thing. So I was going around town whenever I saw something, I put it up there. Oh, and he gave an incentive too. Whoever got the most got free pizza. So, yeah, you got these single mothers doing it. Okay, my kid's gonna have pizza tonight.
Right.
Well, when I talked to Dan, he's like, you know, it puts us in a big situation that. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, listen, this is the problem. Having these sidewalks fixed. There's a clause in the books that we're trying to change, but we haven't changed yet. And it says that the people who own the land connected to the sidewalks, they are responsible to pay, I think, don't quote me, but at least half of the cost of fixing the sidewalk. Meaning that the town pays half, and then the owner of the land next to it pays the rest of it. And I'm like, and he goes, I don't want our citizens having to pay for sidewalk repair, especially along Union Street, which is, I guess it's a state road.
That's a city. That's city.
No, state.
It's state?
Yep. It's not a town road. So he got it done he actually pulled strings and got it done without having to charge people, I think.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, oh my God, Dan, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that happened. Well, that's the problem. You got these people fighting for that seat, in that position, and people are going to undermine others and try to make them look bad. And I think that's what happened with this. Because you got all us single parents wanting that pizza, We don't know what we're doing.
Right.
So I said, that taught me to look next time. Ask first.
There's a lot of sidewalks in this town that need to be fixed still.
Yeah, Dan, most of our budget, from what I understand, go to our kids in the schools.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you got what, 6 schools going into that one little middle school. I'm thinking they should actually split that middle school in 2, because I think that's one of the problems with the bullying in the school, is that there's too many kids per teacher.
Right.
Well,
you know where that light, at the police, where Center Road is, that light there? Center Road.
Where's that?
And Harvard Turnpike.
I'm not good with that. Is that where Red Apple used to be?
Where the police station
Oh, where the police station is. I know where that is, yes.
Okay. You know where the school is behind it?
Oh, that one. That's Center Road? I never knew that was Center Road. Yeah, because that's kind of close to the middle school. That's Center Road. Okay.
Coming from Center Road Center Road School, if you took, and I've talked to the mayor, but I've talked to Dan about it. If you take a left, that light, there should be an arrow, but that's a state road.
Yeah, so they have to, that has to be fixed by the state. It's not town.
Yep.
So, and again, I was told businesses are responsible for their, for like when you have, crosswalks and stuff.
Right.
And on state roads, I don't know what the issue is. But in they're responsible for the lights and the crosswalks. And it's like it's there is stuff behind the scenes that us people that just live in the city don't know. And that's why I always say it's a good idea, and even though I don't do it, is to, they always have those open meetings where anybody can attend them.
And and another thing that should be done, stuff for the blind should be put up. Yeah, and again, that's a lot of money. And Rockville, Dan is trying to get businesses to come in. And again, if I can get Dan to talk to Dan on here, if I do good enough, and Dan agrees to talk to me, maybe I'll ask him about stuff like that. I think he's trying to get the businesses to want to come and move to Rockville. You got to give a business a reason to move their business into a place. And one of the reasons we were cleaning up was because we want people to come to Rockville. Ken wants people to visit his museum. Right. I mean,
And we want people to want to come to Rockville. So are they going to want to come to Rockville with all these broken down buildings? I mean, first we got to take the build. That's why the buildings are coming down. It's called, there's a book out there, and I'll have to get the book to put it up, you know, when we're talking. It's called The Broken Glass Theory. One broken glass. Like, if you have a window and a glass broken window, your transients are more likely to go to your town, and people are more likely to move out of your town than if you fix that one broken window and moved on. People want to come to a place that doesn't have trash on the ground. Now, the problem with the trash is not a lot of problems with the trucks as much as it's a problem with people putting their trash in garbage bags and then putting them in the garbage. And I know people guilty, but I'm not gonna, like, you know, list of names of people, because it's not what I'm out to do here. But just to give the example, when they're doing that, it flies out of the garbage bins. I mean, the garbage truck has no control over what flies out of those. So they're putting the garbage in the garbage, and they're doing their job. Right. Now, it's our responsibility as citizens to put our garbage in bags and then put them in the bins to be taken out. Right. And that's what's not happening. And so when things fall out on the ground, you know, if it's something that's going to fly, it'll fly into everybody's yard. You know, we don't need people to throw things on the ground for us. You know, I mean, that happened. You know, we have that happening with the garbage things. And then there's the garbage dumping that I talked to the town about a couple weeks ago. I guess there's illegal dumping going on. Yeah. And that's not cool. Danny is trying to make it so that people want to move into this town. Well, you get businesses moving into the town, you get more opportunity for employment, and then you get people wanting to live here because there's good business and good employment opportunity. And with gas prices the way they are, they're going to want to move here. Right. You know, I mean, and that's the first thing that has to happen before he can, I mean, because that's what's going to generate the revenue for the town. And then once the budget goes up, once he gets more revenue for the town, the budget can go up, and then we can start doing more for our town. Right. You know, everything costs money. People don't realize that. People like to complain, but you got to put your money where your mouth is. Do you have the money to pay for all this stuff? And complain all you want. You know, I don't have the money to, I mean, our electric bill's going up, food's going up. You know, cost of living is going up. Let's look at reality. You know, if I'm struggling to get food in the house and pay my electric bill, which, you know, off the top gets paid. It's the electric, you know, the rent, the electric bill with the gas bill. Because I can't do any of this if I don't pay that, you know. I mean, my daughter needs the computer, so I, you know, got the rinky-dink computer streaming thing for me. But, you know, everything costs money for the town, too. Things don't come free.
Well, it's like these businesses, certain businesses. I mean, people break in and they bust the doors or the windows or whatever, you know, and then they Mickey Mouse it.
Yep, but
and they leave it that way.
Yeah, people are more apt to break into a business that's, like, you know, not taken care of than a business that is.
Exactly.
And that's, I'm going to get that broken window book, I think. I'm going to see if Ken can actually get it for me. Or, you know, actually, I'll see if I can't get a free copy in my little bag of tricks. You know, but the book is called One Broken Window, I think. And if it's not, then I'll correct myself on my stream. You know, because that's the book that I'm gonna, because I like to recommend books when I'm doing this, and that's the broken window theory. It's a good theory, and that's what Ken Kaplan lives by. And look at what he's done. I mean,
you know, and then the businesses, they don't clean up outside their door. There's garbage.
Aram's actually cleaned up and put lines.
Huh?
Do you see how good Irams is doing right now with their cleanup?
Where is this?
The mini mart next to where I live, on the corner of Ward.
Okay, what about it?
He just recently painted lines. It looks so much better. Just with the
really?
painting the lines.
That's good.
For people.
That's good.
That's a start.
Yeah.
Those are the type of things, paying attention to those type of details is what's going to draw people. It's going, wow, this town's not broken down. And
right.
This town's not just, going to crap. We
Right.
don't, I do know through something I was told by my friend, that we have the strictest gun laws some of the strictest gun laws of most states.
Yeah.
A lot of states that are open carry are having all those problems with the, down in 2021 and 2020. There was a lot of marches and a lot of protesting and everything. And there was a lot of people carrying guns on the street. The high-powered rifles. They're not machine guns because those are illegal. So they're like part machine gun and part, I forgot what they call them. That's off the top of my head. But we don't have that. We have a law that prevents that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not for taking guns out of citizens' hands because you're only going to be taking the guns out of citizens' hands that actually are legal. Because the people who are carrying illegally and are doing all this damage are going to get them illegally anyways, and I guess it's cheaper. And it's not easy, but it's easier to get it underground than it is to get it above ground,
But
legally.
That's the thing is,
You're not going to
it's
take
not
the guns
gonna
out
be
of their
stopped.
hands. It's not going to be stopped because they're going to still have them.
Right.
What they need is stricter gun laws that are the penalties. They need stricter penalties on the guns.
Right.
Say you go in and you're carrying a gun illegally, and then you shoot somebody. Those penalties, those fines need to go up.
Right.
I'm not saying jail the person, but the fines that have to be paid and make them pay the fine. Don't let them declare bankruptcy and not pay that fine.
Right.
Those fines need to go up. The guy next door, he's got all those charges on him. We had our police dog out here. He needs a fine. He needs a fine. He needs to be fined for that call. The police dog being out of here, the state police coming in. They need to take all those in consideration and take that fine and slap it on him. And he needs to pay for all that and pay for the call. Because he's the one that broke in and he's the one that was responsible for that call.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. He was carrying a gun in that house. So that's what I'm talking about, the stricter penalties. Don't take the guns out of people's hands. You got somebody that's carrying a rifle around that's using it for hunting, and he's doing everything legally. Why are you going to take it away from him? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why are you going to take it? Because he's not the one that's doing it. So the people, the laws that I want stricter are the ones that the people get in trouble. The stricter consequences is what they need. And out in other states, they're making the penalties less.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but drugs, pot, I don't care about pot, okay? I've never heard of a domestic with somebody just being a little bit high, okay?
Well, you know what?
I've always heard about it. It's always connected with heroin, cocaine, alcohol abuse. Those are the domestics I hear about, and even prescription drug abuse. I don't hear about domestics with somebody that just smokes a little bit of pot. I'm talking about the people that don't wake and bake. I'm talking about the people that use it for, I don't have, I can't go to my doctor, I mean, he's not going to give me it, and whatever the doctor gives him is going to make him more addicted to something harsher on pain medications. Whereas if they're smoking a bowl, like taking 1 or 2 drags off their bowl, like every 3 times a day, just to manage their back pain. I mean, you can't fault them for that. I'm talking about those people, having
Right.
pot. I don't think it should be illegal. I've never heard of a domestic with somebody who uses that like that. Or not even the wake and bakers. They're normally the ones that just go to sleep after they eat. I mean, it's the ones that couple that with heroin, cocaine, prescription drugs, alcohol. Those are the ones that are really trying to feed their addiction. So those are the ones that are breaking in, trying to steal things to sell so that they can get money for their addiction.
Right.
Okay, so make those penalties higher in Rockville or in Connecticut.
Well, the thing I have a problem with, and I think it's true, is if anybody has a problem with being addicted to weed, they shouldn't be able to, how they made it legal?
Yes.
I don't think they should have made it legal for people that do have a problem with it.
And
because they keep on doing it. They have a problem with that.
Well, let's put it this way, and you have alcoholics that cause more problems than anybody ever did just smoking pot.
Right.
If my husband was just a pothead, I think I could have handled him better.
Right.
But and alcohol is the worst drug. So that's where the addiction, I mean, I know of a lot of people who drink coffee, including myself, that if you drink too much of it, I mean, and you have even people like me that have mental health conditions, nervousness and all that, as it is, you're adding certain chemicals like coffee, and it makes you into a bitter, negative person that causes problems.
Right.
Before, I'm speaking against coffee. Me with my coffee drinking. I'm speaking against cigarette smoking and coffee are way worse for you than smoking weed.
Yeah.
3 times a day for your back pain. Or an addiction to weed. It's way worse. Those addictions are way worse, and those are all legal. And those chemicals have worse consequences on you
and
in your life than weed does. The only thing is you don't want them to go into work high. Okay? I don't want to be served by somebody who's high.
See, that's the problem. The only thing I have a problem with is I don't have a problem with people smoking weed, but I have a problem with people walking around smelling like it.
But people walk around, especially alcoholics walk around smelling like still alcohol all the time because it's oozing out their pores.
I have a problem with that too.
I mean, if you eat too much garlic, you can smell like garlic. I got bad breath. But no, I'm talking. And cigarettes, people who smoke cigarettes stink to high heaven too.
Yep.
I remember that stench. And I'm a cigarette smoker.
I used to smoke. I know.
And I'm nose blind to it.
And it's really stunk. I couldn't.
So yeah, I have more of a problem, honestly, with alcohol being legal. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I mean, I know what happened when they tried to make it illegal. So I don't know the answers, but I have more of a problem with alcohol being legal. But
I do too. Too, because you know what? I don't know. It just.
I feel if quite honestly, I don't think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But with the drugs, like with the alcohol, drinking and driving, the penalties need to be stiffer.
Yep.
They need to slap a big, humongous fine on these people. Plus, and not just make them go through the motions. Go to Mothers Against Drunk Driving and drunk driving classes and all that. And of course, I'm talking money again that people don't have to spend. Towns don't have spend. States don't have money to spend, but they're programs. a stiffer penalty and stiffer programs. You know, a longer base program, maybe a year instead of like 3 months or 1 or 2 classes.
Yeah. Well, I know that if you get, what is it, your first DOI, you get probation or whatever. Or whatever, or something.
Your first DUI, you should get a stiff fine, and you should have to go to classes. I don't.
That might be it. I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know, but I think there should be a very hefty fine on multiple charges.
The second one, if you get a second one, I believe it's mandatory 30 days.
But in those 30 days, you need to get, you know, in a program. But when you get out, you need to stay in that program 6 months to a year. I think a year or 2 years would be better. Make sure the person's staying clean. You know, the longer a person stays clean, the more apt they're able to get things in place to where they're pushing people. You know, first thing you have to do, well, we'll talk about this later, you know, because this goes into a whole other topic with addiction for me, which is a good topic because there's another person, you know, Bill has been helping people with addictions, and I can actually have you and maybe a couple other people on that's been through it themselves with addiction.
And have Chris. Talk to Chris.
Yep, have Chris on too. The whole thing is that with addiction, we're getting into this topic to where it's very hard to manage. And the first thing I had to do when I quit drinking was quit being around the people that drank and like to go clubbing. Not that they're bad people, but it was very hard for me to make new friends. You know, because all my friends drank. All my friends went to clubs. All my friends wanted me to do this and do that and hang out. And I just said, no, I can't right now.
Right.
And then when I started going back, I started just drinking coffee. So I was the person that was always designated driver and got to the point where I got sick of seeing people drunk. It was killing me. Seeing people drunk was just killing me. So, you know, getting between 2 grown men fighting was killing me.
Right.
So I couldn't deal with that anymore. It got to the point where it's just, you know what, I can't deal with addiction to alcohol at all in my life. And when my daughter was born, it's like alcohol and children do not mix.
No.
They just don't mix. You know, even no matter whether my kid's not here or not, if I get in the car and drive when I'm drinking, whether she's at a friend's house and I'm like free to do whatever I want, if I get into a car accident and I kill somebody or I die, there's consequences there that's going to affect my kid.
Right.
So, you know, that's a whole other topic. This one
that's like when I was with my ex, okay? He drank. And when he drank, he did not touch our son.
Nope.
He would not touch him. So it was all me. I always held him. When we were driving, I would be the driver if he was drinking.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, but Steve would start out sober, and then, you know, I'd go to work and he'd be watching her and I'd be trusting him. And I said, listen, you're not allowed to bring her into the package store. I never brought her into it. Like, if I went to a tobacco store that just sold tobacco, I never brought her in there. But, you know, she called the mini mart cigarette stores all the time. I can tell you a story about that I got in trouble for, but it was a cigarette store. She got ice. You know, like, come on. She called it the cigarette store because Mommy got her cigarettes all the time there. But, I said, you're not allowed to take her in a package store. Why? I didn't tell him why, but why? Because I know parents that take their kids into stores. Well, those are the parents. I'm not in charge, but I don't know them. But I knew Steve, and he's an alcoholic, and if he got a nip, he was going to drink it, and my daughter was with him. because he couldn't put it down.
Right.
Do you know I found out after he died? Emily had told me he took her into a package store. And I flipped my lid. I was just, not at her, not in front of her, but when she went to bed and I went outside, I was irate.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know Steve, my husband, you know, I mean, I loved him, really did. He, you know, when he wasn't drinking, he could be a good guy. He was a really good guy when he didn't drink, and you know, when he was Steve. But when a person drinks, if you look into their eyes, they're not there. Look at any drunk person, they're not there. And if you look in their eyes, and that scares me. Yeah. Because if they're not there, what is in there?
The truth does come out when you're drunk. I know that.
Not all of it.
Well, it usually does. With my my sister-in-law, before she died, because she was a drinker, she would drink beer all the time, and then she was popping drugs, popping pills and everything.
Alcoholic always lies about their alcohol. No truth comes out of. They always lie. There's always lies in alcoholics.
When they really get drunk, it comes out.
I never, at the end there, I never really wanted to be around Steve when he was really drunk. I never looked at him. I didn't, and what I knew when he was drunk, he'd be yelling at me.
Yeah. Well, there's mean drunks. There's
well, I got a friend downstairs. He's kind of like, he's chill, but I don't even like seeing him drunk because, like I said, you look into a drunk man's eyes, or not just men, women too, you know, but you look in their eyes and they're not there. There's something else in there, but it's not them.
Right.
And because I can see beyond the veil, it's scary. And I bet you it happens with high people too. Well, I just don't know a lot of addicts. I don't know people who do I don't know people who do cocaine or, you know, all that.
I do.
Well, I don't, but I know if I look, if I looked in their eyes, I'd probably see the same thing. Nothing. I wouldn't see their soul. I'd see somebody else. I'd see something else in them. And so there is a demon that's a demon of addiction.
There is.
So
yeah.
So I mean, you got Chris Lugenbuehl is very good for the town. I mean, and I think there's a lot of churches that do things for the town like that.
That's Union Church.
Yep.
He's out of Union Church.
Yep, he's out of Union Church, and then the other guy that does things, and I forget his name, the tall redhead, the one that plays Uncle Sam every year. Well, he's not doing it anymore. He passed the torch. He's out of he's out of the Rock Church. Not Rock Church, you know that one. His wife's name is Kim.
What's his name?
He runs he's so good with the homeless shelter. God, what is his name? He's very tall. With red hair. Brian, yes. Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
I love him.
Yeah,
yep. And they go to Rock Church, the Rockville Church of the Nazarene, I think it's called.
You know the pastor.
Yeah, there's two.
You know the pastor, right? It's I keep forgetting his name. Todd.
Pastor Todd is one.
Pastor Todd.
And then there's another one.
Pastor, I forgot his name.
They do really good things for the town, and they go to Haiti and everything.
Union Church does.
Yeah, so that's I don't know a lot about the Catholic about the Catholic Church up here, about St. Bernard's. They changed a lot.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
That's totally different.
So, I went there when Father White was there. He was the one I connected with the most out of any priest I've ever known.
Oh, Father White? Yeah.
Yeah.
A Union Church?
No, Father White wasn't Union Church. He was St. Bernard's. He's the one that officiated me and my husband's marriage. And I made my confirmation there, and my first confession I made there. So.
Who was the pastor over at Union Church? There was...
I forget his name. The one...
There was Pastor Ray. And
Ray is the one from Union... Was the one... Raymond. Isn't there a Raymond at... isn't that his name at the Nazarene Church?
No.
What is his name?
I can't think of his name. I talk to him all the time. I've talked to him.
I'm old.
Oh, shit.
I've never been good with names. As a matter of fact, I'm like my mother. My mother calls even my brother a different name. You know, it's funny.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, well, that was her DBI, you know. But I'm bad with names.
My mother would call me John, my brother. Sometimes she would get us mixed up. She would...
Yeah, so we got Brian Flint. He's not a pastor. Brian Flint is the tall redhead, and his wife. He is part of. Brent is part of the Rockville Church of the Nazarene, though. Him and Kim go there.
Brent?
No.
No,
Brian Flint. The one that played Brian Flint used to be he was the tall redhead that used to be Uncle Sam that patched the torch a couple years ago.
Right.
Okay, he's the one that does a lot of work with the homeless around here and the food pantry and all that. He's an invaluable member to this community. He does a lot of good things. Pastor Brent, what? Brian?
I believe he's the director of the shelter.
He might be. I don't know the whole thing, but
yeah.
Brent. Wait, Pat, you got. Okay. Pastor Brent was the one that was a reverend. He was the one at Union Church when we were doing the cleanup crew. We had a house that was a blighted building that we were cleaning up on Union Street. And Union Church with Father Brent, or not Father Brent, but Pastor Brent or Reverend Brent put together a little team, and they all came and helped us with that. Then you got, Pastor Flick, and his name is Raymond, and you got another Ray at Union Church, so there's two Rays, so we're both right. Raymond Flick, Pastor Flick, that's not his last name, I forget his last name, I can't even pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try, but Pastor Flick, and then Pastor Todd, both of the Rockville Church of the Nazarene are very good people. Very good people. Yeah. Pastor Todd, very impressive what they do with the kids around town. They give them a place to get them off the streets once a week. You know, they're not walking the streets, and they're learning about God, and they're praising God, and you know, they have women's meetings and men's meetings, and they do a lot. That church does a lot, and they do a lot around town too. Yeah. I can say
Union Church used to do that. Remember, they had the coffee house. What was it?
I think that's going to be coming back.
Huh?
I thought I read that was coming back. People want the coffee house back.
So.
I hope so too. We could go there. You know, we can go there someday. You know, during the week.
So. I hope they're going to come back, but the name. What was it? it was Larry's.
I don't know the name.
Larry. Remember Larry?
No, I don't remember that name. I remembered it was the coffee house, and I liked the coffee house name. Because it was a place we could go to. There were books in there. There were things, we can have events in there, you know.
Yeah, it was called, it was named after Larry's wife.
Oh, okay. It was Larry's. I remember that. Okay, now.
It was Larry's wife's. It was named after Larry's wife.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shoot. I forgot the name. It'll come to me.
And if it doesn't come to you, somebody, if they listen to this, they can put it down in the comments. We'll check back, and I'll let Peppermint know the name. You know. And then we got Ken Kaplan. Like, I can't say enough good things about Ken Kaplan.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have the OCD and stuff. Everything's got a place and a place for thing. But he taught me a lot of stuff too. I mean, he's the one that said, and this sticks in my mind, and it's for anybody who has anything. You take care of your tools, and they take care of you. And that's one of the reasons he's so OCD about where they're put and taking care of them, cleaning them, and all that.
Right.
That way, you pay once for a tool, it's going to take you years before it gives away. You know?
Right.
You know, he's right. He gave me little phrases like that. The you know, one broken window, you know, take care of your tools, they take care of you. He taught me how not to be so hard on people, that everybody has something about them that they're trying to overcome, that other people can be negative about, but they don't have to be because the person already knows about it. But give them a chance anyway. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peppermint, I mentioned earlier that there was a time when you went up to
the
Henry
Winterfest.
Park. Yep.
Winterfest.
Winterfest.
The Winterfest, the first year.
Your experience with Dan Champagne, Mr. Champagne.
Yeah. Yeah, when I drove up and where he was turned around with his wife, and he had his phone pointed to the sky like he was taking a picture of the sky or something. And I looked at it, I said, get back to work. And he just turned it around and he laughed and he went back to do what he was doing. And that was it.
Yeah, see, stuff like that is huge. It's such a small thing. You don't realize you're making a huge impact on people. And for him to take somebody who is living here, and let's be honest, with the income we got, be honest with it,
Right.
you know, for him to just turn around, acknowledge who you are, and smile, and know that, you know, that's huge. He's putting himself on a level where it's the same as you. He's not like ignoring you.
Right.
And that makes a big difference in this town. There's like 10 million people on the town council. I just looked it up. I don't know them all. And some of the names I like, excuse me. Some of the names I'd butcher. So I'm not going to say some of the names. I'm going to say the people I know. It's like you got of course Mayor Dan, you got Michael Wendis, and then I know Laura Bush. She's a sweetheart. She had actually given me a ride home one time when I was having trouble. Me and Emily.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are so many more people that serve the town that I'm sure most of these people on this list would, I mean, there's a couple I recognize their faces. So I know they will wave to you and they will talk to you and they do come and join in the festivities and stuff, and they don't just stand in their booth and like say, like, look at you like, oh yeah, I'm a celebrity. They actually get out, walk around, and talk to people, and they talk to the people of the town that live in the town. They talk to, no matter what income level we have, they talk to us.
Right.
And so they're not just sitting in a booth saying, oh, I'm great, you know. with a little
Yeah.
name tag in front of them. You're here, I'm Dan Champagne. I'm Laura Bush. Come meet me. They're not making them go to you. They're going to you. That's huge.
Yeah.
I've never seen Mayor Dan unless he's in his office, and I've never seen him in his office either. I've never had a meeting with him. And sit with a plaque in front of his name and just sit there and make somebody go to him to meet him.
Right.
Every time I see Mayor Dan, he's out, he's walking around, he's greeting people, he's talking to people.
Yep.
And he's listening.
I have called. I have gone to the town hall to talk to Dan, and he's not in the office. He is never in that office.
He's always out working for us.
Yep.
I mean, I was kind of shocked with the way what I know of Dan, which I shouldn't be shocked. Dan's Dan. You know, he's in that position for a reason. I guess, you know how they've been restoring that bridge forever?
Yep.
You know the bridge I'm talking about? I forgot what bridge
I think it's Door Hill Road.
Well, they got put on hold. I was reading the article the other day. They were put on hold, and they were waiting for Eversource to finish their job. And they've been waiting for Eversource and waiting for Eversource. And all the time they're waiting for Eversource to do their job, businesses are losing money and people are being rerouted because people are being rerouted around the business instead. So businesses where people would normally be stopping in and buying things or having coffee or getting things to eat, they're losing money right and left.
Right.
You know, I mean, for months on end, it wasn't just a couple days. So in the article I read, Mayor Dan said, well, either you get your job done now, or next time you go on the property, you're going to get hit with trespassing.
Yeah.
And the very next day, the work was done. So there wasn't that much to do.
Yeah.
That took 3 months of them sitting waiting for them.
Well, that's the thing is with Eversource, they take forever.
But
they really.
Dan, I've never heard. I mean, he pushed his weight there, and he did it in a way where they got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have to do that all the time. I mean, people respect him, you know. But it just goes to show that, wow, you know. I mean, and he gave them a chance to get their work done. I mean, I figure, 3 months of a business losing, patrons would be enough. But he really let that slide so that they could do the work, and they were taking advantage of him at that point. That to me, because it took a day to finish the work, to me they were taking advantage of Dan in some way.
Yeah.
And so Dan put his foot down. Shame on them. Anybody who's going to take that type of person advantage of them, that's a shame on them.
Yeah.
I mean, but those are the town people. I mean, like I said, Laura Bush is one of them. I couldn't remember her name in the beginning. And you got Dan Champagne, you got Michael Wendis, Laura Bush, Ken Kaplan, Brian Flint, Pastor Brent at one point, Pastor Flipped, Pastor Todd, Pastor, who was the other ones that you were mentioning?
What, from Union Church?
Yeah.
You already said him.
Okay. And then we got Craig from Craig's Kitchen, Craig Wright. Then we got Carl Slicer. We have been talking for over an hour about our town, maybe even 2 hours, an hour and a half at least. So I just wanted to give the shout out, and I wanted to pay special tribute and let people know what our town feels like to live in the town. There's going to be people that are going to be negative about our town and say negative things, which, all's good, people are people. Everybody has a right to their opinion, My opinion is this is a very decent town to live in. It's a very decent town to have a business in. And I mean, I know everybody, I put pressure on the towns, the officers. Like I put pressure on people in the town with doing something like this, the town
They
council.
deserve it.
Yeah,
They
but
deserve
they
it.
deserve the praise and the glory. But sometimes that'll put undue pressure on them, and that's not what my intent is to do. Because okay, they're not on a pedestal per se, because these are real people with real lives. Like they have families of their own that to take care of, and they're beautiful families, all of them. And you know, I don't want to put a pressure that they feel like they're pressured to be a greatness in a different they deserve. But they're real people. They make mistakes. They're like you and I, and they're the first ones to say, "I'm just a person." Okay.
Right.
I'm just a person, Marie. Don't put me on a pedestal. So, anyways, we got to wrap this up, don't we? We gotta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Maybe we can talk later about something else. Maybe get something better going on. And stick on topic. I know this topic went from honoring our first responders to honoring the whole government of Rockville, Vernon, Connecticut. And I just wanted to show my appreciation. I mean, and having you on it, I mean, it is.
Yeah, me too.
I really, really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me, because it shows me that I'm not the only one that's in my position that really.
I know a lot. Yeah, I know a lot of people that grew up in this town.
Yeah, well, people that appreciate the town,
Yep.
on our level. Um, a lot of people I know on our level really they begrudge things. They don't. They're just cranky people, I guess. But I know there's people like me out there. I don't have a lot. I've been given a lot, and my daughter. They help me take care of my daughter. I mean, they're for the kids first, and I just couldn't appreciate them enough.
Yeah, they do help a lot. They helped me out a lot with my daughter too.
I mean, the tears
When
are
I
gonna
was,
come,
yeah.
because the tears are gonna come because I haven't helped in this town. I haven't been born and raised in this town, but I came here and I lived here, and they have been so good to me. The first responders have been excellent with me. I mean, I'm not gonna say everything that's gone on since I've been living here, but I have been a problem child, you know.
Mhm.
And the first responders, I mean, they saved my life one time. I mean, that's one even talk about was, well, I wasn't in a car accident. It was different. It was by my own hands, but they saved my life. But even the car accident out here that happened recently this month, or last month, or over the last couple months now, it like all runs together. They revived a person right out in front of this house that I watched them
Oh, wow.
with a car accident. Yeah, it was a really bad one. So,
Okay.
I mean, I use the firefighters, yes, but it's really for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, they do good.
You know, I'm a big baby. I just that's sentimental. That's how much just these people mean to me.
Mhm.
So I think we're gonna say good night.
Okay. Good night.
And thank you for being here. We have been talking for. We have We have been talking for over an hour about our town, maybe even 2 hours. You got to decide. That's
And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance to say that I do believe I love you. And if I should ever go away, well then close your eyes and try feel the way we do today. And then if you can remember, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Well, you came in up in me, and now there's so much more I see. And so by the way, I thank you. Oh, and then for the times when we're apart, well, then close your eyes and know the words are coming from my heart. And then if you can remember, oh, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for. In good times, in bad times, I'll be on your side forevermore. Oh, that's what friends are for. Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. Oh, for sure, 'cause I tell you that's what friends are for. For good times and for bad times, I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Yeah. That's what friends are for. Shining, shining, on me for sure.